at that woman.
This is not science fiction! This is what they are!
The face looks human, completely ordinary, but as the skin begins to tear, something impossible emerges beneath. Reptilian scales, venomous eyes, a forked tongue flicking with predatory intent.
It's fantastic.
In 1983, this nightmarish revelation shocked television audiences across America as NBC unveiled V, a science fiction miniseries that would forever change how we viewed the skies above. Before The X-Files made us believe, and long before Game of Thrones turned television into cinematic events, there was V. 2 nights in May 1983 that glued over 65 million viewers to their screens. What began as a $13 million gamble became one of the most influential pieces of science fiction ever broadcast. Arriving during the paranoid final decade of the Cold War, when America's fears needed a face, Kenneth Johnson's creation wasn't just another alien invasion story. At a time when extraterrestrials were either wide-eyed friends like E.T. or mindless terrors from beyond, V offered something far more unsettling. Visitors who looked exactly like us, spoke reassuringly, and promised impossible gifts while concealing their true nature beneath synthetic skin. The genius of V wasn't its spaceships or ray guns, though both were impressively realized on a television budget. Its brilliance lay in how it transformed the alien invasion narrative into a haunting political allegory, one that asked viewers not just to fear the stars, but to question the smiling faces on their television screens, the authorities who demanded their trust, and the neighbors who might secretly serve another master. 4 decades later, as we navigate our own era of deepfakes, alternative facts, and renewed global tensions, V stands not just as a milestone of television history, but as a warning that remains unnervingly relevant. This is the story of how a networked miniseries about lizard people in human skin became one of the most subversive and influential science fiction narratives of the 20th century. A spaceship the size of a city hovers silently over Los Angeles. Inside, Diana peels back a prisoner's skin with surgical precision. In the Resistance headquarters, a visitor's human mask tears away, revealing the scaled horror beneath. Mike Donovan watches in horror as Diana unhooks her jaw and swallows a guinea pig whole. These unforgettable images weren't just shocking moments designed for ratings. They represented extraordinary technical achievements for television in 1983. Working with a modest budget, Kenneth Johnson's team created a visual language for alien infiltration that still resonates decades later. The signature skin peeling effect utilized specialized latex that could be dramatically torn away on camera. Unlike many science fiction productions that kept monsters in shadow, V boldly displayed its aliens in unforgiving close-ups, demanding meticulous craftsmanship from the makeup department led by veterans from theatrical features. The motherships themselves introduced a distinctive architectural design realized through detailed miniature work and optical compositing techniques typically reserved for feature films. The arrival sequence, where massive ships move into position over major cities, created a visual template that productions like Independence Day would directly reference years later. Johnson's innovative decision to blend documentary-style, handheld cinematography with traditional science fiction aesthetics gave V an immediacy uncommon for genre television. This visual approach reinforced the miniseries' exploration of facades and hidden truths, shifting between intimate ground-level perspectives and grand effects-driven sequences. The production faced formidable technical challenges. Creating convincing reptilian appearances required actors to endure hours of makeup application, The full visitor costume included specialized contact lenses that limited vision, facial prosthetics that restricted expression, and bodysuits that trapped heat under studio lights. V pushed boundaries with content unusual for network television. Humans processed as food, resistance fighters facing graphic deaths, and the unflinching portrayal of collaboration with oppressors. The series found innovative ways to convey horror through suggestion and reaction shots, when direct depiction would have been prohibited by broadcast standards. Johnson's decision to film much of the series on practical locations rather than sound stages, unusual for science fiction of the period, lent authenticity to the resistance storyline and reinforced the central premise that this invasion was happening in a recognizable, contemporary America.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
What made V truly revolutionary wasn't just its special effects or production design, but how these technical elements served its allegorical storytelling. Every visual choice, from the human-like appearance of the visitors to the iconography of their regime, reinforced the examination of how fascism can emerge. In even the most democratic societies, the technology didn't just create spectacle, it delivered meaning. When Diana unhooks her jaw and swallows a guinea pig whole, the camera doesn't linger on the shocking special effect. Instead, it cuts to Mark Singer's Mike Donovan, his face contorting in horror and disgust as he witnesses the true nature of the visitors. This moment exemplifies how V elevated itself through performances that grounded its fantastical premise in human emotion. Mark Singer brought an everyman quality to Mike Donovan that distinguished him from typical sci-fi heroes. As a news cameraman thrust into the role of resistance fighter, Singer balanced vulnerability with determination, creating a protagonist whose courage felt earned rather than innate. His performance was particularly effective in scenes documenting the visitors' atrocities, where his character's journalistic objectivity crumbled in the face of moral outrage. The sequence where Donovan smuggles video footage of the visitors' true form from the mothership became the emotional fulcrum of the series precisely because Singer made us believe in both his terror and his resolve. However, it was Jane Badler who delivered the miniseries' most memorable performance as the visitors' ruthless commander, Diana. Before Glenn Close, boiled bunnies, or Cersei Lannister claimed the Iron Throne, Badler created a template for female villainy that was revolutionary for television. Her Diana was calculating, sensual, and utterly remorseless, qualities rarely combined in female characters of the era. Badler's performance was remarkable for its restraint. Beneath her perfect smile and modulated voice, she conveyed reptilian coldness without resorting to mustache-twirling villainy. The subtlety of her performance made Diana's moments of explicit cruelty, like her infamous scientific experiments on humans, all the more shocking. The heart of the resistance movement found its embodiment in Faye Grant's Julie Parrish. Beginning as a medical student unprepared for leadership, Grant convincingly portrayed Julie's evolution into a resistance commander. Her performance was particularly nuanced in scenes exploring the ethics of violent resistance, as her character grappled with becoming the very thing she fought against. Grant's portrayal of Julie's torture at Diana's hands remains one of television's most disturbing sequences, made all the more powerful by the psychological dimension she brought to her character's suffering and subsequent PTSD. Perhaps the most surprising performance came from Robert Englund as Willie, the awkward visitor who becomes sympathetic to humans. Years before he terrified audiences as Freddy Krueger, Englund created a character of genuine sweetness and comic timing. His deliberately stilted delivery and physical mannerisms suggested an alien struggling to inhabit human form, while still allowing moments of genuine connection with his human allies. Willie became essential to the series' thematic nuance, demonstrating that even among the oppressors, individual moral choice remained possible. These performances orbited around several unforgettable scenes that have embedded themselves in pop culture memory. The guinea pig scene mentioned earlier shocked viewers with its unexpected body horror. The revelation of the visitor's reptilian form beneath their human disguises created a visual metaphor for hidden malevolence that resonates to this day. And the sequence where human collaborators begin marking doors of doctors and scientists with the visitor's symbol deliberately evoked Holocaust imagery, connecting fictional alien invasion to historical atrocity in ways television rarely attempted. What made these performances particularly effective was how they anchored the series' ambitious allegorical elements in recognizable human emotion. When Richard Lawson's Dr. Ben Taylor faces betrayal from neighbors who once respected him, his bewilderment and fear directly connected the alien invasion narrative to historical persecutions. When Blair Tefkin's Robin discovers her pregnancy by a visitor carries something inhuman, her terror transcended science fiction to touch on universal fears about bodily autonomy. Through these performances and pivotal scenes, V transformed from mere entertainment into a narrative that posed uncomfortable questions about human nature. The series suggested that threats to freedom rarely announce themselves as monsters. They come with promises of prosperity, protection, and renewal. By making the aliens initially appealing and their human collaborators understandable, if not sympathetic, V created a more complex moral universe than television science fiction had previously attempted. When V premiered on May 1st, 1983, it wasn't just watched, it was experienced. Over 65 million Americans tuned in for the first night of the miniseries, making it one of the most watched television events of the decade. Critics responded with unprecedented enthusiasm for a science fiction property. The New York Times declared it suspenseful, fast-paced, and genuinely frightening, while TV Guide praised it as masterful television that works on multiple levels. For a genre production in an era when science fiction was still often dismissed as juvenile fare, such critical acclaim was remarkable. What made V particularly noteworthy was how it transcended traditional audience demographics. It attracted not only genre enthusiasts, but also viewers who normally avoided science fiction, drawing them in with its political allegory and human drama. Water cooler conversations across America weren't just about the spectacular effects or shocking moments, but about the thinly veiled political commentary that gave the series its intellectual heft. However, this initial reception eventually evolved as V transformed from a self-contained miniseries into an ongoing franchise. The massive ratings success inevitably led NBC to commission a sequel miniseries, V: The Final Battle, which aired in 1984. While still successful, this follow-up faced criticism for emphasizing action over allegory. When V: The series launched as a weekly show later that same year, the critical consensus shifted significantly. Television critics who had championed the original miniseries began describing the property as having devolved from thoughtful allegory to conventional action-adventure. This evolution revealed one of television's enduring tensions, the conflict between artistic vision and commercial exploitation. Kenneth Johnson, the creator whose political consciousness had shaped the original, departed the franchise before The Final Battle, due to creative differences with the network. Without his guiding hand, subsequent iterations gradually diluted the political metaphor that had made V so distinctive, focusing instead on more conventional sci-fi tropes and special effects showcases. The most controversial aspect of V was its explicit parallels to Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, analogies that became both its strength and a source of criticism. Some Jewish organizations expressed concern about the use of Holocaust imagery in a science fiction context, questioning whether such historical trauma should be repurposed for entertainment. Others, including Holocaust survivors, praised the series for making these historical lessons accessible to a new generation through the lens of popular culture. This tension between exploitation and education followed V throughout its evolution. What many viewers at the time didn't know were the fascinating behind-the-scenes details that shaped the miniseries. Johnson's original concept wasn't about aliens at all. He had pitched a direct adaptation of Sinclair Lewis's novel, It Can't Happen Here, about fascism taking root in America. When the network balked at such explicitly political content, Johnson ingeniously reframed the same ideas as an alien invasion narrative, allowing the allegory to slip past network concerns about controversial content. Another hidden aspect was the extensive network interference with the miniseries' political messaging. Several scenes explicitly drawing parallels between the Visitors' tactics and contemporary political manipulation were toned down or cut entirely. A sequence showing the Visitors exploiting religious authority by appearing with prominent televangelists was filmed but never aired, deemed too controversial for the television audience of 1983. Perhaps most fascinating was how Johnson embedded subtle resistance symbols throughout the production design. The V symbol itself, created by spray painting a diagonal slash through Visitor propaganda, was specifically designed to evoke both the V for Victory sign of World War II and emergent street art Tchotch graffiti as political expression. Sharp-eyed viewers might also notice that resistance safe houses were often marked with a small red flower or plant, a deliberate reference to the White Rose resistance movement that opposed Nazi rule in Germany. As the years passed, critical reassessment of V has generally confirmed the original miniseries' significance while acknowledging the diminishing returns of its sequels and adaptations. When ABC attempted a reboot in 2009, critics and scholars inevitably compared it to Johnson's original, typically finding the remake lacking the political courage and clarity of purpose that had distinguished the 1983 production. This pattern of comparison speaks to how thoroughly the original V had embedded itself in cultural memory, becoming the standard against which later science fiction allegories would be measured. 4 decades after reptilian visitors first descended upon television screens, V continues to cast a long shadow across popular culture. Its visual language directly influenced blockbusters like Independence Day, while shows like Falling Skies and Colony built upon its exploration of resistance and collaboration under occupation. Beyond these direct homages, V established a template for the limited series format that now dominates prestige television. Before HBO redefined what television could accomplish, Johnson's miniseries demonstrated that ambitious, politically charged storytelling with cinematic production values could succeed on network television. The series' examination of how public perception can be engineered feels disturbingly prophetic in our age of information warfare and deepfakes. The Visitor's strategy, promising solutions to manufactured crises while undermining scientific authority, reads like a playbook for modern disinformation campaigns. Their control of broadcast media, targeting of intellectuals, and cultivation of youth movements all find uncomfortable parallels in contemporary society. V also provided a nuanced portrayal of how fascism recruits from within. Through characters like Daniel Bernstein, the teenager who joins the Visitor youth, the series illustrated how ordinary people could be seduced by prosperity, protection, or purpose into supporting authoritarian systems. As one of the last major science fiction productions to rely primarily on practical effects, Vi represents a particular approach to visual storytelling that many viewers now regard with nostalgic appreciation. The tangibility of its aliens and spaceships gives it a visual authenticity that many contemporary productions struggle to achieve. As a landmark television event watched simultaneously by tens of millions of Americans, V also stands as an artifact from before media fragmentation, a reminder of television's former power as a medium of collective experience. In our current landscape of explicit political content that often preaches to ideological bubbles, V still offers a valuable model for using allegory to smuggle challenging ideas across tribal boundaries. At its core, it examines the fragility of social trust and the courage required to question authority when necessary, themes that remain perpetually relevant. What science fiction from your childhood revealed deeper truths than you initially recognized? As we continue exploring how imagination helps us process reality, Don't forget to subscribe for more examinations of the science fiction that shaped us and continues to predict our future.